Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Today's shir is Lilu Nishmas Imi Merosi Rusmas Mordechai, sponsored by Mordechai Sapaznik, L'Zeiche Nishmas Moishi Kleinbart, Ben Habacher Yisrael Moshe Zechron Levracha, Ben Rabbi Avram, maybe Emeletz Yoshev. Did I say? No, I'm missing some words here. Ben Rabbi Avram Doiv, maybe Emeletz Yoshev for his entire mishpacha and all of Klal Yisrael. The way it comes in, the wording in the Hebrew, once you mix English and Hebrew, it messes it all up. Parnas HaChodesh, Shia Greenfield from Green Star Electrical Contracting, Yossi Klein from Superior Plumbing, Muncie, Shkoyach, Rabbi Isai. So we have good news. We were saying to him for one of our Chaverim, and he says he wants to give a big Hakaras HaTov. There were individuals from the shir, anonymous people, which sent delicious food and chalas for Shabbos, shopped for us. People from the shir wouldn't accept a dime. Mamish Malach, okay. As for the Chabura, I'd like to thank the Chabura for the goodwill and tefillas. I'm slowly improving, Baruch Hashem. Now he's a physician, and he says like this: know that COVID-19 is not the flu, it's a cluster bomb. This is going to upset some people with multiple weapons that can, and at times fatally, hit the nervous system. Loss of smell, taste, peripheral, hyper, I can't read these words. It's out of nowhere, it sneaks up and causes deep vein thrombosis, pulmonary embolism, stroke, heart attack, permanent heart damage. Yes, I'm an internist of 33 years. Do not allow pandemic fatigue set in. Shmaris nafshecha. Be the first one in line for the good vaccines that are available. I've developed a tremendous gratitude and appreciation for life, my family, friends, and community that have stepped up. Sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to clap you with a 2x4 to make you aware what your priority should be. Bleib gesund und stark, he says. Okay, from a physician. Rabbi said, oh, you know what? We have another half a minute here. From Kalman from yesterday. He says like this: Yeshua asked me not to talk about this, but somebody wrote and criticized the shir for being too commercialized. I have to say something, so my apologies. I'm trying to apply the lessons from Daf Gimel on the importance of proper speech. The email upset me so much I could barely learn. I think he has a chutzpah, and maybe he should start sponsoring instead of criticizing the sponsors. Don't change anything, and please don't think for a moment that merchandising, making anything commercial, does he think you're making money on an $11 baseball hat? I told our guys they should double the price so we don't lose money on it. We love the merchandise. And the only criticism I have is that we want more. All kidding aside, the utter joy and emotion that I personally get from hearing you mentioning my father's name is priceless. Oh, that's one of the reasons that we do this. A day like today with less sponsors for me is a lot more geschmack. You can go right into it. You cannot imagine or probably do how much it means to me, and I'm sure others, when they hear the names of their loved ones. As you know, I even like hearing my name too. Please don't change anything. Love you, Rebellion. Happy birthday. Comment of the Five Towns. But in all seriousness, that guy is a great guy. The guy that wrote the email, he did not intend to, he wasn't talking about the merchandising. He was just talking about the fact that I'm not in the Beis Medrash. I think there's a misunderstanding why I'm not in the Beis Medrash. He thought I'm not there for different reasons, for COVID and this and that. And I explained to him that the main reason is that I don't concentrate as well when I'm in the Beis Medrash. There's a lot of noise, a lot of people are schmoozing, different people are coming in, out. If we could organize that, then Be'ezer Hashem, I'm going back to the Beis Medrash. But that guy, don't have any hard feelings towards that guy. I know him very well. He's a great, great guy. Rabbi said we're holding on Daf Yud Aleph. Today's Daf Yud Aleph, 10 Daf into Masechtas Pesachim. Holding the last line in Daf Yud Aleph Beis. Excuse me, here it goes again. Fine. So yesterday we finished discussing, or we were in the middle of discussing. According to Rabbi Yehuda, once it's usher to eat chametz, you cannot do b'dikas chametz anymore. Why? Because what happens if you do b'dikas chametz and you find something that looks good and you're hungry, it's starving, it's ever Pesach, there's barely food in the house, you're going to grab that donut and eat it. A gzeira. Chacham say we're not geyser. Says the Gemara on the bottom. Is he so concerned that people are going to eat? But nan, we learned. Now here's a question. I want to start off the shir with a riddle. And this is actually very dear to me. It's one of my pet peeves. I discussed it a while ago, I want to discuss it again. What is a Isser D'Oraisa according to most Rishonim? An Isser D'Oraisa that in our day and age, people don't care about. Isser D'Oraisa. They treat this Isser D'Oraisa so leniently that it makes, like, Chalav Stam is all the way up here. This Isser D'Oraisa according to most Rishonim is down here. Here it is. Here's the Isser D'Oraisa. Vatnan, Mishakarav ha'omer, Yoitzin u'moitziin shukei Yerushalayim shehein meleim kemach v'koli. There's an Isser Chadash, and that is, the Torah says that you cannot eat the new grain. So let's say you planted something, just for argument, you planted something during Sukkot time, and it grows and it takes root. You cannot eat that crop until you bring a carbon omer. You bring barley, soiles, the fine barley, bring it as a carbon on the second day of Pesach. Once you bring that, then you're permitted to eat that crop. Okay, says the Gemara, what happened was they would bring this crop, they would bring this carbon on the second day of Pesach, and all of a sudden, like, Motzei Pesach in America, some pizza stores miraculously have fresh pizza coming out of the oven as Yom Tov comes out. So, miraculously, they're selling flour and dried grain, all these things. Where do they get it from? You can't do ktira, you cannot harvest the wheat, or whatever the word is, before you bring the omer. So something's going on here. How did they get this stuff? Top of Yud Aleph Amud Aleph. Shaloi b'ratzon chachamim. Divrei Meir holds that this is wrong. They shouldn't have this kind of produce out there. They shouldn't have this product. Where do they get their hands on it? It's not a problem. Now, what's the Gemara's question? It's like, making steaks on Yom Kippur. Well, Yom Kippur is a different problem, but making steaks on a fast day. Are you going to eat from it? You're not going to eat from it. Over here, you have all this wheat. You start cutting the wheat way before Pesach. You might come to eat from it. Rabbi Yehuda is the one that said that Erev Pesach, I can't do b'dikas chametz. I might come to eat the donut, so I might come to eat the wheat. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, it's not a problem. Not geyser. Says the Gemara, Marava, Shani Chadash, mitoich shaloi tarteloi ayidei kituf, huzacha. It's also for you to use your typical way that you cut the wheat. You're cutting it by hand. You're doing whatever. You're doing a shinoi. So you're going to remember not to eat from it. So I want to stop here for a second and read from the Mishnah Berurah, because I know that in America they're not so makbid. Why am I so upset about this? Because when I was a bacher, I walked into one of those bakeries, and I said, "Do you have yashan?" And a Hasidic young man turned around to me and he said, "Yashan asur min haTorah." Something like that. Chadash asur min haTorah. He said, "Chadash asur min haTorah." And he's laughing his head off. Kilo, like, I'm a aretz. I'm asking for this weird thing called yashan. So I want to read to you what the Mechaber and what the Mishnah Berurah hold about this. It's very important stuff. This is Siman Tov Pei Tes, Sif Yud. Asur lechol chodosh af bazman hazeh. It says in the pasuk, says the Mishnah Berurah, v'lechem v'koli v'karmel yisoichlu ad etzem hayom hazeh b'chol moishvei seichem, in every country. And then he brings the Ramah that says there's a heter for chodosh, because it's a svek sveika. We don't know when it's produced. Well, today, every product has a production date on it and a serial number, and you can find out exactly when the wheat was harvested There's no suffix in our days. Because of Achronim, he goes on to that. In Poland, it's Aser, because we know when it comes and where it comes from. He says, nobody cares about this. You have to say a schus for them. It's nebach. It's very difficult. How are you going to buy cereal? You know, cereal is made from the Chadash stuff. How are you going to do it? So in America, a guy comes out with this book. These are the weirdos. These are the guys that are makbid on this Isser called, most people don't even know it exists, this Isser. Isser D'Oraisa. We're talking about a D'Oraisa where Chol of Stam is all the way down here. The Rabbanon, this is Isser D'Oraisa. If you knew about Isser D'Oraisa, you'd be so makel. But there's a Bach that's makel. But most of the Rishonim hold it's an Isser D'Oraisa. To the point where Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach goes into the whole Shaila. Are you allowed to give food that's made out of this? Are you allowed to serve it to somebody? Are you allowed to say Amen on a bracha like this? You see, that's why it's a pet peeve. Because people make fun of it. It's like, don't make fun of it. Now, he says also, he brings in the Bir Halacha here. People are so makbid in the smallest of the small. And over here, and then he says something very interesting. And I, Be'ezer Hashem, want to take this on also, because I was, my family's makbid on Chol of Yisrael, and I'm not. Why? Because I was a sheikh when I was a bachar, I decided to go off on that. It's not a good thing, I'm not. But he says a very interesting thing. Let's say it's too hard for you. So at least be makbid on what you could be makbid. Don't just write it off and say, that's an Isser I don't care about. So if there's two pizza shops, one sells Yashin, one doesn't, so go into the one that sells Yashin. Why are you erasing this Aveira, he says? It doesn't make sense to just completely erase it. And I just want to read one last thing. End the story. Anyways, take what you want from this, but just realize that it's not so pashut, and you certainly shouldn't be making fun of somebody that's makbid on it. So yes, there's a certain, you have a hecker when you're cutting the wheat, because you're not cutting it with your typical machine. But what about when you grind the wheat, and what about when you sift it? Yes, you're going to do it differently. You're not going to use the water mill or the machine nowadays. You're going to do it by hand. And when you sift it, you're going to flip the sifter upside down, and it's going to be a hecker. Now, since you cannot bring the omer from inferior crop, so we didn't care about Beis HaShlachim, the fields that you irrigated it by hand, not by rain, in the valleys. It's an inferior crop. You can't bring it from there. So Mamela, you could go there and just cut the wheat. Avaloi goichet. Don't pile it up, because that's not a hefsid. We're talking about a hefsid. Vakim like Rabbi Yehuda. Who? From all people, Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Yehuda is the one that says they have to be concerned. You might come to eat the donut on Erev Pesach. So how come I'm not concerned when I harvest the wheat regularly, without a hecker, with my machine, with my tractor, in the Beis HaShlachim, because the Beis HaShlachim is okay. I might come to eat it. So comes Abai and says a new pshat. And the Gemara is going to go with this pshat for the rest of the sugya. Badal and loy badal, meaning chametz you eat all year round, you eat bread all day long, all year. 300 and whatever, 50 something days a year. So all of a sudden comes Erev Pesach, and this food that you're so used to eating is sitting right in front of you, you're just going to grab it and eat it. Whereas Chadash, people are makbid on the Isser D'Oraisa, and they don't eat it the whole time. So they know to stay away from it. Now they're going to go harvest the crop. You're not going to touch it. This is treif chazer. You never ate it before. A half a year you're not eating it. All of a sudden today you're going to eat it. So the concept of badal and loy badal. So just to explain the sugya real quickly, al regel achas. Rabbi Yehuda is going to go with this idea of badal and loy badal. Something that you are used to, you have a problem, we have to make a gzera. Happens to be that everything else that the Gemara brings really is badal. So, Chadash, that we just said, is badal. You stay away from Chadash. You don't use the new crop. Shvei for whoever davens Nusach Ashkenaz, or people from 250 years ago that are Ashkenaz and they used to daven Ashkenaz, they know from Bameh Medlikin that you're not allowed to put a Shvei Feresh or Beitza. You're not allowed to drip oil. We're going to discuss it in more detail. But because it's Shabbos, you're allowed to use it according to Rabbi Yehuda because badal. You're going to stay away from it. The difference of a string and not a string between the different types of fabric, badal. You're going to stay away because of Shabbos. And making a knot or just a bow, according to Rabbi Yehuda, is not a question of badal, not badal. It's usher deraisa to make a bow, which we had earlier. Chachamim, on the other hand, they go with a whole different concept. They go with something you get confused with. And if you go down the line, so chametz, it's not gonna be confused. Chadash, there's no way to differentiate. Shviferes, no way to differentiate oil that you eat and oil on Shabbos. And a rope, I'm just saying this quickly, we're going to see it in the sugya. I just want to show you how the whole sugya, it's very, very simple. We're going to go with badal according to Rabbi Yehuda and mechalev according to Rabbanan. So let's see inside. Omar Rava, the Rabbi Yehuda, sorry. El Omar Abaye, Chadash badal minei, chametz le badal. Omar Rava, the Rabbi Yehuda, Kashi, he asked me a big contradiction between Rabbi Yehuda. That what? By chametz, he says, stop checking for chametz, because you might come to eat the chametz. But that's chametz. What about Chadash? He's not so concerned. What about Rabbanan? The exact opposite. Rabbanan say when it comes to Chadash, we are concerned. And when it comes to chametz, we're not concerned. Chacham say you can continue checking forever. If you forgot to check on the 6th hour, check on the 7th hour. We're not concerned by chametz, that you might eat the donut, but we are concerned by Chadash. What's the difference? The Rabbanan are like kasha. We just explained there's no kasha because of badal and loy badal. Chametz, you're so used to eating it, you have to be concerned. Says Rabbi Yehuda, stop. Once it's also to eat chametz, don't even check for it. The Rabbanan nami loy kasha. Why? Who atzmoi mechazer olav l'sarfoi? What's going on here? The person wants to be mekayim the mitzvah of b'dikas chametz. He's looking, searching his whole house for chametz. So what is he doing? He's in the mode of destroying chametz. So he's going to go eat the chametz. It doesn't make sense logically. He's searching and searching for an hour, and all of a sudden he sees the glazed donut. So he's going to stuff it in his face. He wants to destroy it. He's out to what is it called? Hunt and destroy, whatever the lashon is. And he's going to eat it. No. No. Rav Ashi Omar, says Rav Ashi, so, Rav Ashi made a little bit of a mistake here. He answers that we're talking about flour and dried wheat. It's not roy la'achila. We're not concerned that somebody's going to eat it. Says the Gemara, Hoder Rav Ashi beduso. It's a mistake. Says the Aruch on the side, if you look in Hagoyz Tziyunim, he says that anytime dibru ka'alacha v'leirotzu l'ganoisam, anytime an Amoira said something that's not halachically correct, but we didn't want to embarrass him, v'loimar to, and to say, oh, he made a mistake, el amru bedusa or berusa, shayl hayu goris. So it's a nice lashon to say, a little bit of a mistake. Hoder Rav Ashi bedusa, I just found it interesting that who wrote this? The Gemara was written by Rav Ashi, Ravina Rav Ashi. So we must say that somebody else wrote it, maybe his son, Mar Bar Rav Ashi. Later generation, when they were editing the Gemara, they said Rav Ashi made a mistake. What's the mistake? Because this makes sense if it's dried and not. But it's edible from the time that you harvest it till the time you dry it in the oven. So it is edible. So I got to be careful. I can't look for chametz. I can't look for this stuff. Says Gemara, maybe because he changes the way he's harvesting, like Rava says. At the end of the day, we said that you could harvest even regularly with your tractor in the Beis Hashlachim. And what are you going to do over there? How are you going to differentiate in that case? Fine. A beautiful picture today. Very, a lot I know. Here's your oil. This is your ner. It's lit. Do not put an egg or something here that drips oil into your kli. The halacha is that if you take oil out of this kli, you're over mechaba. You're extinguishing the lamp because you're removing some of the oil. It's supposed to last for 2 hours. Now it lasts only for an hour and a half. So what if you take your spoon and as it's dripping in, you grab some. You need it for your food. You need to put it on your Israeli salad. It's gishmak oil. It's olive oil. Look at this. You can't differentiate between this oil and what you use for food. It's the same oil. Also to do, according to Chacham. Lo yigev adam shefer shel beitza v'yimaleno shemen v'yitneno b'tzad haner b'shvil shitei min hatefes, that should drip into here. V'afilu hi shel cheres, and even if this is made out of earthenware, which is disgusting, it's slimy and disgusting, so you're probably not going to want to put it in your salad. Also, Rabbi Yehuda matter. Rabbi Yehuda says it's not a problem. Hassam. So what are we going to do? Over here it's loy badal. Over here, this is like a donut on Erev Pesach. Rabbi Yehuda says on a donut, stay away from donuts. Don't do bdika. Over here he says, you don't have to stay away from the oil. I'm not going to come to eat it. Why not? Says the Gemara, very pashut. Chumre de Shabbos mibdal b'dili. Everybody knows that if you mechal Shabbos, you get kares, you could get misa. It's a big problem, so people stay away from it. V'rami de Shabbos at the Shabbos, but I have another problem with Shabbos. The sanya chevod bli shenifsak. If the rope of your pail in your well broke, lo yeh kaishu elo invay. You shouldn't use a regular kesher shel kayama. Just use a bow. Here, this is from Pirush Chai, who was just nifter. The shaman should have an aliyah. This is a kesher shel kayama. It lasts forever. Here's a bow. You pull it, it'll come right out. So don't use a kesher shel kayama, which is issa deraisa. Elo invay bow. Rabbi Yehuda Omer koirachal of punda. I don't have the picture, but basically you take a belt and you wrap it around a little bit. Or piskia is this. We had in Masechtas Shabbos. This holds up your socks. In those days they didn't have the elastic thing, so they had to hold it up with a garter. Here it is, the red band. So you take that red band and you could wrap it around. Ubevad shelo yanvenu, says Rabbi Yehuda, you cannot make a bow. What's the problem? Because if I make a bow, I'm going to come to make a kesher shekayama. So why is he so makbid on a bow that it might come to kesher shekayama, but he's not so makbid on oil? Dripping oil is okay. Isn't that a contradiction? I'm not concerned he's going to take a spoon and start using the oil. I am concerned that if I let him do a bow, he might come to do a kesher shekayama. Why? What's the big deal? Kashya the rabbanon the rabbanon, and the same thing in the reverse. Rabbanon are matir, and then they're aser. So what do we do? Says the rabbanon the rabbanon lekasha. Shemen b'shemen mechalef. At the end of the day, people are going to consume oil. It's olive oil, and it's dripping over your candle. They're missing some olive oil to take it. Aniva b'kshira le mechalef. The bow and the kesher shekayama are two different things. Nobody does a Boy Scout or whatever it's called, a shipman's bow, whatever, a serious knot that they use on a ship versus a little bow. Those are two things that you don't confuse. The review like Ashia, time the review the Lamishun the Gozaniva Atukshir. This we had. It's not pshat that if you make a bow, you might come to make a kesher shekayama. A bow is a kesher shekayama. That's why a bow is also, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Fine. V'rami rabbonad rabbanon. This not. It says in the Mishnah, koishim dlibe piskia. Again, that garter. Avaloi b'chevel. What's the reason? So, if I'm going to use my own belt, I bought in the store, I'm going to use it to tie up my pail. You know it's not lasting. It's not a kayama. I need my belt. I need to hold up my pants. What am I going to do? How am I going to go to shul? So I'm going to use it for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to do it and come. So it's not a kesher shekayama. Avaloi b'chevel, not with a rope. Rabbi Yehuda matir. And Rabbi Yehuda says it's okay. Says the Gemara, wait a minute. What are we talking about? What kind of chevel? Chevel de mai, ilem chevel de alma, or just a regular rope. Rabbi Yehuda matir. And Rabbi Yehuda says you're allowed to use a rope and make a kesher shekayama. Kesher shekayama, devadi asli vatule. A regular rope, you're going to leave it there forever. It's 100% awesome midaraisa. Elo pshita did gardi. We're talking about a weaver's rope. In other words, it's some sort of measuring device. So the weaver is not going to leave his measuring tape in the well. Because Rabbanon chevel de gardi or chevel de alma, and Rabbanon said it doesn't matter what kind of rope. I don't care if this is what you use for your business, and you're going to undo it soon. Gzeira, all ropes are asur. So because Rabbanon chevel de gardi or chevel de alma, so the Gemara says, so over here there were guys of one for the other. Says the Gemara in chevel b'chevel mechalef aniva b'kshir lemechalfa. Rabbanon say that these two things are not going to be confused, but two types of rope are going to be confused. It's not such a big kasha. A rope is a rope. Yeah, this guy uses it. He's a tailor. You know how the tailors have around their neck. They have something and they measure, but it looks just like the rope that you buy at Home Depot. So it could get confused. Mashain came two types of knots. Nobody confuses them. That you have to learn how to do. It's a whole chachma how to tie it nicely. And a little bow is a completely different thing. You're not going to be confused. It's not on my list over here. But you have a very interesting situation. You have a firstborn animal that belongs to the kohen. Every firstborn animal give to the kohen. He eats it. It has gedusha though. Now this bechar that has a chazedam, it has some sort of there's a blood pressure. Okay, so you got to relieve the pressure. What do? You make a hole in the animal somewhere and you relieve the pressure. That's what they did. Says the Gemara, afilu meis, even if this animal might die from not relieving the pressure, ein makizim loidam. It's also for you to do so. Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Because Rabbi Yehuda is concerned that if I allow you to be make his dam, you might give him a mum. You're not allowed to do a deliberate mum on kachim. What if you puncture his lip, his ear? It's a mum. And that's Issa Deraisa. So don't touch the animal. Don't make any holes. Don't try to relieve the pressure. The Chachamim Moirim Yakiz, he should do Hakaz's dam. Just be careful. I'm telling you, relieve the pressure, but you know the halachas. Don't remove any bone, don't break a bone, don't split his lip, don't split his ear, you'll be fine. So all of a sudden, over here, Rabbi Yehuda is so concerned. He might come to do something else. How come by other places, he's not concerned? Says the Gemara, Metoich sha'adam bahul al mamoinoi. Oh, once again, I forgot. This is getting out of hand. We're going to have to stop this turning of the daf sponsor. Oh, found it. Says the Gemara like this. There's a concept of panic. When people are in a panic, they act irrationally. Yeah? Like a stampede, whatever it is. Stampede. There's people, they just act. They start running people over. They do crazy things. People get hurt. You have to be under control. In control at all times. When a person is concerned about he's concerned about his animal, it's about to die. Look at it, oi! What do? You start going crazy. So Memela, Adam Bala Mamoina, Amrina on Daf Yomi from a base on top, Isharsly b'mokim sheinoisim b'imum, Osim b'mokim sheinoisim b'imum. What's going to happen? You said, I allow you to relieve the pressure, make some hole in the animal. Where? Only in a place that's not going to have a mum. But he's so concerned now. He's going crazy that his animal's going to die. He just punctures right in the ear and Shema Yisrael. That's the problem. Once you allow him to do something, he's not going to differentiate between the place that's mutter, the place also. Right now, he's going crazy. He's animal. Imagine your pet is about to die. If you don't have a pet, you don't know what I'm talking about. But you become a sugar. Shabbos ain't Shabbos. Hey, call the ambulance. What? Fine. So this is like human nature. We're talking about human nature here. If I don't know, maybe the opposite. If I don't allow him to do anything, he's going to jump in and make it Issa D'Oraisa. Perhaps if I give him a little leeway, I say, you know what? I know that you're very bold. This is your pet. This is your animal. It's about to die. I allow you to do it. Just be careful where you do it. Maybe that will relieve some of his stress and his panic, and he'll do it in the right way. That's the shaila here. Do I allow him a little bit, and that little bit might lead to more, and he might just go crazy, and therefore it's better for us just to stop it and say, you know what? It's completely us. We're finished. End of the story. Done. Like we had by a fire. You have a fire, don't save anything. Or save a little bit, but if you save a little bit, you might come to save more. You know, that sort of sugya. Zog the Gemara. So turn the page, sponsored by Anonymous from Lakewood. And for Rabbi Chiel Shragim and Avram Alevi, and by our good friend Kalman from the Five Towns. Li'ilu Nishmas, he loves this, he said. Li'ilu Nishmas, Menachem Mendel Ben Simcha. You know what, for him, because he had such a no. He's a Talmud Chacham, Israel war hero, a Holocaust survivor. In his chus, all his grandchildren should be healthy, the entire Yidden. Great. The third sponsor, sponsored by the Fine and Pearl families in the chus, a Refuah Shlema from Mindel Elko Bas Edel. She should have a Refuah Shlema. Zog the Gemara. Umi Amri Rabbi Yehuda Adam Bolam Amoyno. It's not Rabbi Yehuda Oimer. A mekadrim abeima beyontav mipnei shu ois chabura. Oh, gewaldige picture today. Here we go. We got two types of combs to comb your animal. One is metal, and one is wood. So you cannot use the metal one. You're going to puncture the animal's skin. Chabura b'Shabbos Issa D'Oraisa. Again, another Issa D'Oraisa. That everybody's mocking on that one. If you comb your animal's skin, you might puncture him, a little blood, also. Avo mekartzifim. So you see where this is going to. I don't allow you to use this, but I allow you to use this. They're very similar. You can't even use the wooden one. What's the difference? They are closer together, and they will cause a lot of issues, bloodletting, the whole thing. These are wider apart, not a problem. They're wood, easier on the animal. Says the Gemara understood that this is like, if I don't comb the animal, it's a big problem. You know, I'm just thinking now, we didn't comb our animal. Don't tell their own corn booth. I hope he's not on. So if you don't comb it, so what happened was, then we sent him to this special place here. They took off all his hair. The dog is literally shaking now for a week straight. Doesn't stop shaking because doesn't have. It could be a problem. I'm thinking now. I didn't think about it before. Maybe that's the ball. The Gemara understood that the guy goes crazy. I have to comb the hair out, otherwise it could kill the animal. So the Gemara no. What?
Eli?
Yeah.
Metal or just very close together and wider apart?
It's the combination of the two. That's what it seems like. The metal is closer together. The wood is not so close. Maybe that's the only way to make it. I don't know how they did it in those days. But it seems like it's
if you had wood together also, it also
yeah, right. It would be a problem. But I don't know that the wood could actually puncture the skin as well. I think it's a combination of the two.
I'm saying you saw that some of the difference, or you're just
Yeah, no, that's how they translate it. I think that's what Rashi was saying, no? You're saying that doesn't say Rashi metal?
no.
Yeah.
Just the Gemara is just saying the difference between wider.
Yeah, I know, but they bring down that's metal. Metal. What? They bring metal and beitza? That's what he said? I didn't hear exactly what he said. I heard he saying something about beitza explaining.
Sorry about that. Yes, in beitza they bring also the...
First of all, time out. Your job is not to help me. Your job is to knock me. So I don't know what you're doing now. You're going out of the thing. But okay, fine. We'll make an exception. That what?
To the list of exceptions.
No, it could be that you have to see the Gemara and Beitza if the difference is if
The bottom line is, the bottom line is one hurts the animal, one doesn't. One could injure the animal, one doesn't. How exactly? Because it's metal and it's together, so that if it was metal and far apart, it wouldn't be such an issue. If it was wood and close together, I think the combination of the two. It's good for the picture. It's a nice picture. You see how they fine. Zog the Gemara. Bezer Hashem will get to Beitza pretty soon.
Picture, Ali.
What?
It's a beautiful picture.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. And when we get to Beitza, we're going to have a whole shaila. Do we say Be'ah or Beitza? Because in America, a lot of people are makbid. It's like one of the worst things in the world to say Beitza. But kids are of inner soul. Nobody cares. Okay, fine. We'll wait. I'm sure the Manchester Chevra have a whole issue with the word Beitza. Fine. Who says the Gemara? Where? Hold on, I might have skipped here. Hasam. What are you talking about? In the case of a b'char, if you don't do bloodletting, you don't relieve the pressure, animal drops dead. So you didn't comb it, so it shakes a little bit. Shaking is not the end of the world. It's not going to die. For that, nobody's ever been Mechal Shabbos, so his animal doesn't shake. They would be Mechal Shabbos if he has a complete loss by a b'char. If the b'char drops dead, you could do zero with it. You have to pick it up, put it in a grave. You can't even sell any garnish. It's worthless. Rabbi Yehuda, Ma'ishne Gabi Chometz the Gozar. So how come by Chometz he says you shouldn't do any bdika once the time of Isser Chometz arrives? U'Ma'ishne Gabi Kirtzav Deloy Gozar. What's the difference? Says the Gemara, Lechem belechem michalef. You will not be able to differentiate between the breads that you're eating all year round and this bread today. But these two types, a wooden comb and a metal comb, a wider comb and a narrow comb, that is not something that you'll mistake. Says the Mishnah, Remei Oimer. Oh, it's a Mishnah, hold on. I don't see Sam Schenken, but I see he's on. Zev Roth, Shalom Aleichem. Moshe Ernstov, Shalom Aleichem. Wow, what's going on here? But boys, I just want to say, I don't know what's going on with Friday. The shir on Friday is like 200 views less than. Well, you guys don't learn but you guys are on Zoom, so I'm talking to the YouTube guys. Josh Schreiber, Shalom Aleichem. It's been a while. Merrill Weber, Akiva Zeigler, Shalom Aleichem. The famous Arya. Okay. Avram Ben Zev. Wow. It's been a while. Okay. Zog the Heilige Mishnah. Remeir Oimer Oichlem Kol Chomesh V'Sorfim B'Tchila Sheish. We're very familiar with this. Says Remeir, you could eat in the 5th hour. We burn in the 6th hour. Achilas Isra Achilas Chometz in the 7th, the beginning of the 7th. So we have a whole hour to be careful with. That's all I need. Rabbi Yehuda Oimer Oichlem Kol Arba. No, I need more. People make mistakes in hours, and then we're going to have a sugya, what kind of mistakes. B'toilim kol chamesh. So the 5th hour is hour that we don't burn the chametz, but we don't eat chametz, says Rabbi Yehuda. You can feed it to your animal, but I need to add an extra hour. V'sorfim b'tchila sheish, which everybody agrees to, that sreifas chametz starts in the beginning of the 6th hour. Right, if a person had a nace, he recovered, like our friend Gruen recovers. He does, if the Beis HaMikdash was Kaim today, he would just say a goimel. But if the Beis HaMikdash, he brings a carbon taida. And the famous thing, he brings 40 breads, 30 of them are matzah, 10 chametz. But it's so much bread, he has to invite all his friends, the whole thing. They take 2 of these breads that are puzzle, and they put it on top of a bench, and everybody sees these breads, and they know, kols man 2 breads, I could eat chametz. They didn't have watches, they didn't have iPhones, they didn't know what time it was. The time, it's the 2 bread time. 2 bread, I could eat chametz. Nidlachas, if one of them was removed, comes the shamish, removes one. Rabbi say that means toilin, and this is the time you can't eat, you don't burn, don't do anything. In between. It's hanging. But once the 2 breads are removed, that means it's the 6th hour, that's when you start burning the chametz. He agrees to Rabbi Yehuda, we got to add a little bit extra. Utruma kol chamesh, but truma, since it's usher to be ma'abed truma b'yadayim, you can't just take and destroy your truma. So I give you an extra. I don't want to be a machmer on the cheshbon of this isser. It's usher to ruin truma. So I give you another hour. You could eat truma for chamesh, She agrees, like everybody else, that you burn chametz on the 6th hour. Not awesome. We learned in a Mishnah in Sanhedrin. If there are witnesses to a murder, Rahmal Islam, so we have to interview the witnesses. And we ask them 7 different chakiros, 7 different questions. Obviously, like in nowadays, you have to see if the story jives, if it happened the same day, the same hour. So what happens? He says it happened on the 2nd day of Kislev. And he says, no, it happened on the 3rd day of Kislev. Believe it or not, it's a good edus. Why? So we have to explain, just to understand, would they both agree that it happened on a Tuesday? Just they called the date wrong. And that's not a problem. Since they could agree on the day of the week, they just have a confusion here. One of them wasn't aware that the previous month was a 30-day month. He thought it was a 29-day month. So he made a mistake on the date. That's not a big deal. But if their mistake is 2 days, now nobody makes a mistake for 2 months straight. No good. Now what happens if the edus is batal? We don't kill that guy, the murderer. He's not a murderer. And we also don't kill the edim. Because it's not, the only time you can kill an aid is if there's a hazama. Imanu Yisem, you were in America, why are you coming to testify? But if they just made a mistake on the date, nothing happens to anyone. It happened at 2 o'clock, and the other guy said it happened at 3 o'clock. Now we're talking about our difference. And how does it fit into our Mishnah, our Sugi? Because we're talking about making a mistake between the 6th hour, the 5th hour. We have to give you a little bit of room over there so you don't eat chametz, you don't forget. So over here also, people, 2 Eidim, one comes and says it happened at 2 o'clock, the murder happened at 3 o'clock, Eidus and Kayemis, it's okay. The Gemara will explain. But if the difference is in 2 hours, Eidus and Betela Divir Meir. It's a good Eidus. However, if the difference of hours is at that time of a day, towards the end of the day, there's such a difference in the way the shadow is projected on the ground that it's impossible that one person would say 5 o'clock and the other person would say 7 o'clock. Amar Abaya, says Abaya. Let me explain. We'll figure out over here that according to the mayor, people don't make a mistake at all. They're very exact in their time. In other words, obviously, there are a lot of men out there that they're off a little bit in time. But when you come to Bezdin, and you tell Bezdin, I'm 100% sure it happened at 2 o'clock, then you're not making a mistake. You know what you're talking about. You don't realize what time it is, great. It happens a lot. But to come to Bezdin and testify, I saw the murder at 2 o'clock, and he says 3 o'clock, they don't make a mistake by a second. A person can make a mistake by half hour. The story happened at 2:59. As the 2nd hour is finishing, the 3rd hour comes in. Yeah, it happens all the time in my house. In certain people, certain individual. How much did that cost you? $100. So look at the receipt. It's $199. It's $200. No, $199 equals 100. So some people call 199 200. Some people call it 1. Okay, so it's not such a big shayla. He called it 2. It was actually 3 o'clock. It was 2:59. So the 8 comes to bed. He said it happened at 2 o'clock. And the other guy was correct. It was literally 2:59, but he called it 3. So there's no shay. So it's a good testimony. You can make a mistake by a half hour. Oh, very simple. Here we go. The murder happened at 4:30. This guy calls it 3 o'clock. He calls it 3:59 because he calls it at the end of the 4th hour. He made a mistake by a half hour. 3:59 equals 4. So he says 3, but it's really at 4:30, so he's off by a half hour. This guy calls it 5 o'clock, so he's also off by a half hour. By the Gomer Shalosh, how come he called it 3? because it's 3:59. So he calls it 3. He's not off by an hour and a half. 3 equals 3:59, which is a half hour away from 4:30. So why does this guy call it 5? He means the beginning of 5, which is accurate, which is a half hour away from 4:30. All right, we'll stop right over here. So in Bekitzer, there's only a mistake of a half hour. It happened at 4:30. He calls it 3. 3 equals 4:30. He's only off by half because 3 could also be 3:59. And he calls it 5. He's off by half an hour from 4:30. And Mamela, I can accept their edus because people are off by half an hour. Have a wonderful day. Shkoyach, Rabbi Isai. Shkoyach.
Happy birthday. You could be a day off, right? We said a day off, so happy birthday.
I got your message, David. Shkoyach. Thank you. I got it on the day. Bye bye yoim. Bye bye yoim.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Rabbi Isai.
Have a good day.
What?
Happy birthday, Rabbi. I'm sorry, I didn't make it yesterday. I had to watch on
You could be a day off. That's what tastes so good. Tastes so good.
Oi.
Yeah, you're right.
No, actually in Lubavitch it's 3 days before, 3 days after.
We should sing again. Let's all erupt in singing.
It's okay, David. It's okay. Let's talk stam.
Oh, okay.
We already went through that tsar. You don't have to be mitzar me twice. To the what? What was that mechaven to?
The sugya on the chat today was about Chol Yisrael.
What do you mean?
He means the WhatsApp chat, the unofficial NDY chat.
All right.
So the sugya before Shir?
Yeah, it was in the afternoon here in New York.
Someone bought ice cream that happened to be Chalav Yisrael. I won't say that it was Mark. I won't say who it is.
Yosef, why say Mark?
What happened? Well, what kind of ice cream? Was it Haagen-Dazs?
You want me to send you a picture?
Some knockoff brand.
Uncle Phil was having it this morning. I was on the way to the office. I stopped in and
Didn't Uncle Phil say to the stayed up for the shit last night?
A freezer full of?
a freezer full of ice cream was shortly thereafter.
What kind of ice cream? That's what I want to know.
Binyamin and Gershon, no?
You know that in America you can get Klein's ice cream, which is delicious. They have gewaldige flavors.
Ellie, it's been a while since you've gone down. Go to Baskin Robbins or Carvel. Different.
Exactly, you can get all the Nestle from Israel. They're the best ice
Yeah,
cream.
sure. Yeah, it is. Israeli ice cream's better.
Best
Rice ice cream in every gas station on 17.
Which one in gas station? What happened?
The funny part is that while I was gone,
Oi.
he brought back more ice cream. So when you see the picture, there's only half the. I just
Are you saying that Uncle Phil is a big ice cream person?
No. I don't want to be Mickey shaming.
I just wanted to know how the sushi was.
It's none of your business, Yeshua.
By the way, I don't think there's any bakery in all of New York that doesn't sell yashim. Everything
Really?
is yashim. Every single bakery, every bakery is yashim. If it's in Parpak, Village, the Flap.
Okay, gewaldig. Things are changing. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Even the bakers that do mashkafas that are doing things at home, the women, the girls, all them yashin.
Really? Wow. But hello, that has to be a change in the last 10 years or something, you know?
More. Over 10 years.
You took Chicago, it's no fashion out there.
What happened?
We're getting the Crown Heights Bezdin on the case here.
It's a typical American problem because you
Yeah,
got
in Chicago, do you have bakeries?
Ellie, I just want to check. We see on the YouTube video that there's a jacket and tie on a chair. Does that sit there the whole week?
I don't have time to put anything away. So there's certain things here that just stay until my wife makes a thing out of it.
Someone said something. I won't say who, but someone says, "Oh, it's good to see I'm not the only one who does that."
I don't wear the same I don't wear the same suit and tie twice in a row. So eventually it has to go back into the closet. It's just the Shiloh when.
If you have 6 chairs, you can have every day, Sunday chair, Monday chair, Tuesday chair. No, just rotate it.
That's why I need to move into here. Let me show you into this room. That's where we're doing the construction, right over there. So Be'ezer Hashem, I'm moving, and then I could